has done any time throughout, and then we are all gonna price out homes for someone that you know. And you're gonna send them an unsolicited CMA and be like, hey, I was just thinking about you, and so I thought I'd price out your home. Here's what I think it's worth. Your homeless too, do that again.
Is this how I click through everything right here?
Yeah. Be able. I'm gonna hang out down here.
Cool. Okay. Hi guys, how are you?
Good.
Good. Tell me your names.
Judd.
Judd.
Barbara.
Barbara. What's your name, good sir?
Sorry, Bill.
Bill. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Sam. Michelle. Alan. Okay, awesome. I'm Tanen. Tanen. I also go by Tanner. A lot of people forget. That's okay. So just to kind of get an idea, how long are you guys all new to real estate? Like, tell me how long you've been in the business?
4 months.
4 months? That's a loaded question. Oh, cool. Cool. Okay. Okay. Have you done any transactions? Yeah.
Yes, I've listed it as well.
Help to buy. Okay. And same with you. Have you helped buy or sell with anybody yet? Cool. Awesome. Okay.
8 months.
Okay. Have you helped anyone buy or sell yet?
Working on it.
Love it. Good. Good. Yep. It's always a process. Okay. Welcome. Nice. What's your name? Ben. Nice to meet you. We're just going around. How long have you been in the business? Or how long have you had your license? And if you've done any transactions, buy or sell yet? Nothing yet. Okay. Nice. Okay. So you're probably the newest? Pretty. Okay. That's all right. You got to start somewhere. Oh, so you guys are, okay. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. How many of you find pricing homes hard to do? And it's okay if you raise your hand or if you're like, oh, I got this, it's easy. Okay. Okay. So the reason I chose this class to talk about is I got trained by my dad. My dad used to be a real estate appraiser. And so I felt like doing a CMA is very in my wheelhouse. I feel like I'm very confident in pricing homes. There's some times that even I get shocked that I price a home and it doesn't sell, or I price a home and it sells for more than I thought. It happens. So just learn, take it with a grain of salt. Don't beat yourself up if you can't price homes perfectly. That's what an appraiser's job is. They're going to get it dialed in a little bit better than you can. But can anybody tell me what's the most important thing? I'm hitting escape and it is not working, Ken. I hear beeping. Minimize it. There we are. Are we using your login or mine?
No, I didn't log in.
Okay. You guys all have access to the MLS? Yes? No, yeah, yep, you guys are probably working on it. See if I can remember my password. The problem we all share. There we go. So it's having me do this because it's like, hey, we don't recognize your computer you're logging in. Let's make sure this is really you. I'm going to get a cool little code. Okay. Tell me before I get into this, what do you guys feel like is the most important thing when it comes to pricing homes? Or like, let me make it easier. What do you guys feel like are the important criteria? Can we write something down? Am I okay to write on that board?
Brought it over for you.
kind of a visual guy. Sorry, guys. You guys get to put up with me today. Okay. You think, okay, price per square foot? It's not a bad. Okay. Someone else had their hand up.
Price fairly enough to bring in traffic without cover the seller, I guess.
So adequate traffic. Okay. Adequate. I don't know if I spelled that right. It's like doing math on air. Just don't do it.
We talking about water.
Good question. So yes. So good point. So I'm looking more for when you do a CMA, when you're gonna go price a house, is it more important to have like the accurate number of bedrooms? Is it accurate to have the number of bathrooms? Is it, you know, what do you guys feel like if we're trying to find, so from an appraiser standpoint, your ideal, well, I'll pause that because I don't want to give away the answers just yet. Okay, anybody else? Anyone else know or think about what's important?
I'd say bed bath, square footage, lot size. Age of home.
Lot size, age. Well, there was one more you said and I didn't catch it.
Lot size, square footage, and age of home.
Lot size, age. Someone else said something? Garage count? Booyah, that's a big one. Oh, now we're getting deep. Someone said garage count, and then someone said something after that. Location, thank you. And then someone said build quality. Oops. Not quality. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so we'll put location / neighborhood. It's not a very good B. Anybody else? So we've got price per square foot, adequate traffic, bed, bath, lot size, age, garage count, location / neighborhood, build quality. Anybody have any other ideas or suggestions when you're pricing out a home? Okay, it's a basement. Are you talking about basement size or basement finish? Okay. Okay. I'm writing all the answers down and I'll tell you which ones we can search for. Anybody else? Okay. If it's clean.
Couple of conditions.
Yeah. Okay. Cam, how much time do I have? Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I think it's a good start. There's one on here that I think is probably super important, but it kind of is blending in with one of these. If you had to guess, what are your top 3? So give a second to look at it. Let me bring it closer. So everybody can see. And then we're gonna have a little vote. We're gonna make a little fun of this. So price per square foot, adequate traffic, how many bed, bath, lot size, age of the home, garage count, location / neighborhood, build quality, basement finishes, seller confidence, cleanliness / the condition, and days on market. Who's ready to vote? Okay, what are your top 3? Okay. Hold on. We're gonna get a different color, make it easy. So location, bed, bath,
Well, not the price per square foot, just the price.
Okay. Anybody else ready to vote? What's your votes? Same three? Okay. Same for you? Same? No one's gonna branch out, huh? Okay. Okay. Same for you?
I would do location, neighborhood, good map, and then also, probably the large count.
Where did you go, garage? Okay.
The big price per square foot is the big problem. CMA, and then what's this one?
Okay. What's your name? Erica? Yes. Yep. Yep. So this is a comparative market analysis to price a home. So you have a client that says, hey, I'm going to sell my house in a month. How much is it worth? I have no idea. I have an idea of what my neighbors have sold for, because that's usually what happens, right? So you said price per square foot, location, neighborhood, and garage count, okay?
Change garage, condition,
Yep.
sorry.
To condition. Okay. You voted already?
Yep.
You voted, you voted, you voted. Did you vote yet? Oh, bed bath count. It's not a very good one. It deserves more respect. Okay. I think we got everybody over here. Cameron, what do you think are the most, in your opinion, are the top three? Okay. I will probably agree with that. Those are my three as well. So bed bath count, the location / neighborhood, and the cleanliness / condition. So I have clients all the time that are like, hey, tell me, they try to, everybody always wants to think their house is worth more than it is, right? I think that's just human, just how we roll, right? We're always looking at trying to figure out what's the most important things in life. And everyone's like, oh, our house is worth $1 billion. And that might be true. It might be worth $1 billion, but I doubt it. So here's a trick question for you. I don't know if this is fun. If someone's willing to pay $100 million for this building, okay? If someone's willing to come in today and write the leadership and whoever owns the building, that group, if they say, hey, I'm going to write a check for you for $100 million, is this property now worth $100 million? You say yes? Okay, what do you think? Okay, what do you think? You think so? 100 million? Really? You say no? Yes? Okay. Depends if an appraiser's involved, right? You say yes? Do you think it's worth it? If someone comes in and says, I'm paying 100 million bucks, here's a truckload of cash, and they're willing to pay you that much, is it worth that? Is it now worth that much money? No? What's your name, ma'am? Cammy, welcome. My question was, and this is a trick question, if someone comes in and says, I'm going to pay $100 million for this building. I don't know what this building's worth. I'm not a commercial guy, but I'm guessing it's probably like several million bucks, right? But if someone comes in and says, hey, I'm going to pay $100 million for this property, is this property now worth $100 million? Good answer, okay. Cameron, what do you think? Yes, that is the correct answer. It's whatever the market's willing to spend. So that's why as an appraiser, your job as realtors is to find the outliers. Find the ones that don't make sense and don't include them with what you're looking for. If this if I'm an appraiser, I come in and someone's saying, hey, I'm getting a loan for this building, Keller Williams building, and I'm paying them $100 million. I'm so excited. The bank's gonna be like, woo, that's a lot of money. Okay. So they hire an appraiser. An appraiser comes out, and what do? They get to work, kind of like what we do, right? And they go and they'll find comparables. And if they say, I've got 3 or 4 or 5 comparables, they're all in the $5 to $8 million range. And then I've got this other building that's $100 million that sold down the street. Is an appraiser going to use that $100 million one property versus the bulk of those that are between 5 and 8? You say no? Okay. Who else says no? You think they would use it? Okay. What does everyone else think? Anyone else have 2 cents? You think they should? Okay. What do you have any say?
I don't think it makes sense if you're other ones, but
Exactly. It's going to screw things up. So back when I was an appraiser, we used a software called Win Total. I don't know if they still use it or not. I've got 3 siblings that are all appraisers still. My dad has since retired. But I got a good pulse of real estate, right? And that's where doing appraising, I really fell in love with real estate because I'm like, you get to see the coolest things. Every day's different, right? It's not the same thing going in. I couldn't do an accountant type work. I just couldn't do the same thing, locking myself in a room. I don't love that. I love being with people. I love the social aspect of real estate. And that's why I got out of appraising was in 2009. So after 2008, 2009, 2007, when the market was getting crazy, I got out of real estate. And to kind of give you guys a pulse, back then, appraisers could have relationships with realtors and with lenders. They could all have a symbiotic relationship, right? They could all be, professional acquaintances, professional friends. And then part of the crackdown, if you will, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the lot came together and says, okay, no longer can appraisers have direct relationships with lenders. For some reason, the appraisers are the ones that, since the Great Recession, that's when the appraisers kind of got the brunt end of the deal. They got, in my opinion, they got screwed the worst. Because before, let's say Cameron had a property, he's needing, he's the lender, he needs a property that he needs appraised. He could call up, me and say, hey, Tanen, I need this house appraised. We're under contract. We close in 2.5 weeks. Can you come out and do an appraisal on it? Sure. And he'd come out and do the appraisal and send it to him. What happened was, giving you guys a little bit of background, some of you might know this, some of you may not, but this is good information to know. What happened was, why the government says, nope, that's going to stop, is because there were a few bad apples on both sides, a few bad lenders, a few bad appraisers, and a few bad realtors who would collude with them and say, hey, I need this home to appraise for $900. And the appraiser's like, well, it's really only worth $800. I don't care. I need it to appraise for $900. And that's where, because the appraiser came out, put his stamp of approval on it and said, boom, $900,000. That's what happened. Homes went up crazy in value. Had all these people. This is where the lenders kind of got in hot water and why it's some of their lenders' fault. They had what was called stated income loans. So you could literally get a loan if you were alive. If you had a warm pulse, you could get a loan. And what happened was that it created a lot of problems where people are like, okay, I could make my $3,000 or $4,000 a month payment on this $1 million home, but I can only make it for a month or two. And then they go house poor and they can't pay. Then they lose the house, and that's what helped started the market crash, right? And so what happened was appraisers came to this standpoint of saying, hey, the government came in and says, okay, no longer can you guys have relationships, right? What it is now is essentially, let's say that all of you guys, this is the best example I could give you. Let's say that all of you go to your family doctor, a CMA, let's say OBY or OB, or your family doctor, whatever it is. You have direct relationships with them. You know how you like, they know you, they know your history, they know how you like things done, they know everything about you. That's what appraisers and lenders had. And then what and the government came in and made this change. And now all of the doctors, whether you know them or not, are on this board, this Will of Fortune board. And essentially you go get a loan, you spin the wheel, and whoever it lands on, that's your new appraiser. And so that's kind of what's happened, right? Is the government didn't care about history, they didn't care about anything. All they want to care about is to make sure that there's no, personal involvement, which can be a good thing, right? But unfortunately, what happens is it kind of creates a bad thing for everybody else. So, anyone have questions about that? I know it's kind of a weird tangent, but just wanted to give you a little background about appraising and how it's kind of changed in the last, how long has that been? Almost 20 years ago. And so now when you have an appraiser involved, what happens is, how many of you guys have a lender you guys like to work with or have a friend that's a lender? Does anyone have anybody? Okay. So that's okay. I have great relationships with lenders too. They'll tell you the same thing. Everybody, even when I've gone to CE classes, people in the division of real estate who you've all gotten your license through or getting your license through, everybody hates this, what's called an appraisal management company, an AMC. And what they do is they're the ones who come in. So lender needs a loan, they spin the wheel, whoever lands on, that's the AMC is the one who spun the wheel, essentially. And the appraisal management company is the one that has the list of approved appraisers. So now, if you have a problem with your CMA, they're trying to make it a little bit difficult for you as the listing agent to go on to contact the appraiser. And so when you have your comparative market analysis and you're like, hey, I've got 3 or 4 comparables that were not in your appraisal, can you please consider these? It's a little bit harder to get in touch with the appraiser. It's still possible. A third-party intermediary that's involved. Before, it could be you calling up the appraiser directly and saying, hey, we got your appraisal is a little bit low. Here's the comparables I think would help boost the value that you somehow missed. And does that make sense? See why it's important, right? Is because if you're selling your house for, let's just say $800,000. Let's say you're selling your house for $800,000. Okay, and you get a full price offer at $800,000. And the appraiser comes out after 2.5 weeks, and the appraiser says, it's not worth that. It's actually only worth $760,000. Your job as your listing agent is to say, hold on a second. When I priced this house, when I did my comparative market analysis, which we're doing here, this is why it's worth this, not this. Because that's an additional $40,000 that you're trying to fight for your client. Does that make sense? So that's why it's super important to price the homes the right way the first time. Anybody can pay $100 million for a house. Anybody can do that, right? That's definitely possible. But what are the bulk of people willing to pay for my house? And an appraiser's job is to get exactly priced on the home, right? Our job, in my opinion, is to come to the clients and say, hey, I think your home's worth probably somewhere between $780,000 to $820,000. And the higher price point you go, the more that gap is going to spread. Does that make sense? So when you go price a condo, you're probably going to get within like 10 grand of what it's worth, maybe 15 or 20. You start going into the 6, 7, 800s, you might have like a $30,000 to $50,000 spread. But an appraiser's job is to come in and try to herald that down even better and try to find that exact dollar amount. Does anybody think a house is worth an exact dollar? So if someone comes, like for instance, if I'm coming to my client, the seller, and say, hey, your home's worth somewhere between $760,000 and $800,000, is that accurate? Or am I doing a disservice to my clients? You think what? Okay. What does everyone else think? Okay. I think it's a range too. Because again, you'll see here in a minute, and those that have done CMAs, you know there's going to be a range. Well, somewhere between here and here. And that's your job, is to try to sandwich that down to what this is. You have all these comparables, and your job is to funnel them down to what it's actually worth. Does that make sense? And so having these comparables that we're going to go through, that's why it's important to know what your dollar is, to know what your range is, so you can come back and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Appraiser, you appraised it at 760. My lowest was 760. There was one house at 760. The rest of them were closer to 800. We think it's worth closer to 800. Here are some comparables you missed. Can I send these over to you to look at? Okay, that's your job, is to fight for your clients, to fight for that extra amount. And so
Go back and look. If-
appraisers, I don't know. That's the hard thing. Cam, what would you say? I mean, ideally, because here's the thing, they want to stay in the good graces of the lender. So if they keep having bad appraisals over and over and over again, the lender could, or the AMC, appraisal management company, could remove them off of their approved lender list or approved appraiser list. And then therefore they're not going to get any work. And so they're kind of like trying to, they're supposed to be like a title company where they don't have a dog in the fight, but they're also supposed to give you accurate numbers, right? Cam, do you have anything to say?
Appraisers, like, randomly, they'll be submitted to someone.
Yes.
Look at both.
Yep.
Say, how good did you do? Having a problem with that.
Yes.
Do I get how often that is, or how they decide?
Yeah, I don't either, but thank you for bringing that. That does happen. And so it's not just this unfair checks and balances that never happens. It's not like the IRS that's on their own branch doing their own thing. This is something that everybody should have an accountability partner to make sure that nothing's being run amok anymore. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about CMAs or any myths or anything that they want to talk about before we dive into doing one? No? Okay. Okay, so let me back it up so everyone can see where we got to. This is the very first main page when you log in, okay? You can see here, this is the board news, okay? So if you belong to UCAR, which all of you do, some of you are in the process thereof, any news, like last week they had their May membership luncheon. It was at Thanksgiving Point in the Red Barn, and so any news will show up here, okay? But from the main page, this is the main page. This is something they added a number of years ago, which I think is fantastic. Just a little bit of brief market statistics. So it shows you right now, okay, in the last month from April 12th to May 12th, you're looking entire market, residential. You can put in zip codes. So right now it's looking all of Utah, and we can narrow it down. Let's go Utah County. So right now, Utah County, average days on market is 52 days. This is also important when it comes to pricing your homes, because your clients are going to ask you, hey, what's the average days on market? How long? They may not ask that direct question. Some are smart and will ask that and they'll know the lingo. Some will say, how long do you think it's going to take to sell my house? That's where you can tell them that number. Say in Utah County, the average is 52 days. And you can even change it differently, right? So let's go to Lehigh. 84043. Went from 52 to 55 days on market. Okay, I'll do Saratoga Springs. It'll change. 59 days on market. So it sits a little bit longer. Okay, and I'll bet if you go to Eagle Mountain, it'll probably even show a little bit higher. Okay, is that? Okay, so from the search, residential, full, is where you want to go. At least that's where I go. You can also, for some people that are good, they'll go to search and then they'll go to quick, which is fine to do. It just condenses some of the topics, but I like to go full bore. Okay, so when I'm statusing, when I'm trying to find the status, is it actively on the market, under contract, and then you can read the rest of them, which I'm going to tell you, when I search 4 of these. Can anyone guess what 4 that I choose? So active, under contract, sold, and backup. Why backup? Yes. Yes. Yep. Okay, so those are the important ones, in my opinion, because these others don't really do anything for you. You can click active no show, but again, that hasn't been exposed to the market really, right? You're not able to come see it. And so it's not really a good pulse on pricing because no one can go out and see it. No one, can get the actual look. Good question. So I have only used it like twice in my career. And if I'm not mistaken, when your clients sign a listing agreement, that's where that one would be applicable. Let's say they sign the listing agreement that says today, Monday, today's the 12th, May 12th, they sign it, May 12th. Does anybody know on the listing agreement how soon it says it'll be on the market? Okay. So if you have pictures scheduled for Thursday and pictures won't be back till Friday, are you going to put it on the market without pictures? You can. I would recommend not doing that. But there's some that do. How many of you guys have looked at, new listing or whatever, boop, pops up and there's no pictures. You're like, what are you doing? You're doing the biggest disservice in my opinion. And so that's what that's for, is that you put it active, no show. It's, because that's what the listing agreement part says is you're going to list this property within X amount of days. And if you can't do it, then that's where that should go. You can also have your client sign a listing agreement addendum saying, hey, we're actually going to hold it off until the 18th or whatever till pictures are done. And then your client signs that authorizing you to hold off on putting it on the market until pictures are back. Correct. Yep.
You also got if you're selling investment property for the next month and you want to sell it, but they're saying no, we don't want to.
And you can, yeah. But that could be a situation you use it. Yep.
On the market, they're like, we're buttoning down for Christmas, we're sitting, having our house show ready, we got 3 little kids.
Yep.
So we.
Yep. So I was almost in a similar situation. I have a listing of mine in Vineyard, and I told my client, I said, hey, I think your house is probably worth between, I think I said 1.25 and 1.4 or yeah. So I gave him $150,000 range because it's a 6,000 square foot house, a 1/3 acre, a 4-car garage, built-in tramp, swing set, huge fire pit area. It's a beautiful house, but the floor plan's a little, wonky. The paint was similar to paint color to this. It's kind of like a mid, it's probably, kind of the grayish color, but ours is kind of a little more bluish color. And so I was just like, that was some of the feedback. Like, yeah, paint's a little dated and da-da-da. And so we went in and made some changes and we actually took it off the market. So we went in, and I had, I think, I can't remember if I expired or canceled, but I took it off the market for a month. Does anyone know why I'd take it off the market for a month? What happens after 30 days? Resets the days on market. Yep. And so for me, that's why I did it. So, but you'll have some clients that don't want to keep it on and just not show it right now. And that happens. So that's what that's for. Okay. Sorry, we're getting caught in the weeds here. Okay. Do I fill out price per square foot yet? Okay, I'm down with that. Okay, what do you know about this property? Single family or condo or townhouse?
Single family.
Okay, so click single family. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get in the mind of an appraiser. How can I compare? We're not looking to compare apples and oranges. We're looking to compare Fuji apples to Fuji apples. Are Ramblers the same thing as a split entry? Would you, like, if you're looking at comparables, would you bundle them together? You say no? Okay. Who else? Anybody would say yes to group them together? Rambler with the basement and a split entry. Does everybody know what a split entry is? You open the door and there's a half a flight of stairs up or down. It was a terrible design. Sorry if anyone lives there. That's why they don't build them anymore. Everyone's just like, am I in or am I out? People don't love stairs. And so that's why they don't build them anymore. Okay, so single family. Okay, what else do you know about it? Is it 2-story or a Rambler?
It is 2-story.
Okay. Do I want to use Ramblers too? A Rambler with a basement. It's got 2 levels. So do I want to use that as well? You'd say yes. Okay.
For this home, it has a basement.
Okay. So this home has a basement.
Doesn't it depend on what's in the neighborhood?
Okay, good question. Okay. They do, yep. Does anyone else have any comments they want to add? Anything else? If it's a 2-story, again, we're looking to compare Fuji apples to Fuji apples. So I'm looking for all 2 stories. Okay. If it's a Rambler, I'm clicking Rambler. If it's a tri-level, does anyone know what those are? A multi-level or tri-level is what they're kind of called. They're really popular in the like 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Yes. So essentially, if you're looking from the house, from the street, you're looking at it, it looks like kind of like boop, 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 like that. Does that make sense? Or it could be 3 levels. Usually this one's like a daylight basement where you can look outside, you know, the bottom level, unless they have another basement, and then it's, you know, 4 levels or multi-level. But same, if the home is a multi-level, then find multi-level homes to comparable with. All the time you're gonna have people that are like, they live in a multi-level or they live in a split entry. And they're gonna be like, well, the Johnsons is down the street, same house, same, you know, same everything, same builder. They're sold for, you know, 580. I think I can get 580, and you're like looking at your comparables, and you're like, you're a multi-level or a split entry. You need to find split entry homes that you got to compare. Yep. The only thing that I've found good success with, that's a good question, is just showing them the difference. Actively boots on the ground, showing them and say, okay, this is what a single family level or single level living is like, right? Is master's on the main, the laundry's on the main, the kitchen, the family room, everything is on the main floor. And then if you find a 2-story, then same thing. Do you want your master on the main? Are they getting older? And they're like, yeah, we don't love stairs. And if we're gonna live here for the next 10, 15 years, we want no stairs involved. And so we're fine with the 2-story, but the master's gotta be on the main, right? So I think that to answer your question, that's the best success I have. Does anyone else have anything any other suggestions to that? If someone says, hey, I'm not sure what I want, does anyone have any insight as to what's worked good for them?
I tell them the splits are always, people don't particularly like them, they're harder to sell.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at them, that's fine, but they are considered the best quality.
Yeah, and I just tell them to say, for instance, if they were good sellers, they would still make that model today. They would still, right? It's just like anything. If something's selling really well, they're not going to change it, right? If sales are going down, 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 they're going to not make it anymore because they're like, no one's buying it, right? So they'll switch. And that's usually what I tell people. That's the reason why pretty much 99% of single family that you see is either a 2-story or is a Rambler. Those are by far the most favorites, the most people like, okay? Okay, so we've got active, under contract, sold, and backup. We've got single family, and we've got 2-story, okay? And I would leave it at that for now, okay? This is the other important thing. How many days back should we go? In other words, from right now, how many days back am I going to pull data? 6 months, 180. Yep. Okay. So, and this can change. This is one that I would look at changing if you can't find what you're looking for. Okay. So 180. Okay. I don't get into filling out the city because what if the house is on the border of a city? Right. You ask people that live in Alpine or Highland, and that's a different conversation, right? People in Highland, my pulse has been people that live in Highland, they group Highland and Alpine together. And the people that live in Alpine are like, not everybody, I'm not trying to say everyone does this, but Alpine, a lot of people out of Alpine are like, no, you live in Highland, man, right? They kind of look down. Am I right? Does anyone know that? Yes. And whether that's true or not, you know, great. Yes, correct. And that's the other thing is, yeah, that's another good similar situation where people are like, oh, I live in Highland. Well, you're on the border of Highland and Alpine, or Highland and Lehigh, whatever it is, right? So that's where I leave that city, state, county. I leave all that blank. Subdivision, same thing. I leave that blank. Okay, how many square feet is that?
It's 3,100 square feet.
Okay, let me, you said how many?
31.
Okay, so this is where it's important. So 3,100? Okay, so if you can, I go 500 square feet less and 500 square feet more. So at 3,100, that's 2,600 on the bottom end and 3,600 square feet on the top end. Okay, this is also another one you can change and raise, sorry, because that price per square foot, that's kind of where that one comes into play a little bit, is that you can raise this one and just adjust for square feet. What year is it built?
2007.
Okay, so what I do is I go, again, we're trying to narrow it down, right? So we start small. If you can't find what you're looking for, then you start making these adjustments a little bit bigger. So built in 2007, so I'm gonna go 10 years in each direction. Because is a home built in 2007 the same as a home that was built in 2022? Okay. So I usually traditionally just do built standing. You can do under construction if you would like. That kind of gives you an idea, especially if it's a newer home. Let's say the house is a 2022 and you're wanting to know, okay, what can buyers get if they have $1 million in their hand? How does my house stack compared to new construction, brand new? And so that's where you'd click under construction. But where ours is getting close to 20 years old, I would leave that unchecked, okay? Yeah, yep. Just to get an idea, right? So you can say, okay, my existing home I think is worth $1 million, but wait a second, you click the new construction box, you see 3 more comparables, and they're like, crap. They can get brand new. Yes, the yard's not done, but they can get brand new for 900. Ugh. If everything's considered equal, right? 99% of people are going to choose new construction over existing if the price is better, right? The only time I've seen that they won't is if they're like, I love the neighborhood, I have to be next to my parents for the schools, something where they're drawn to that, right? They're like, I don't care if it's new. And the other one is the yard. A lot of people don't like putting in yards, right? And so if they could find a house that's 3 years old, the landscaping's already done, to them, they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to spend 50 to 100 grand in landscaping anyway, or more, depending on the price of the house. Let's just go with the 2 or 3 year old house. And so, okay. Do I want to put garage capacity now? You say yes?
Enabled on my search results, one of those columns that's hidden by default, but I've enabled it because I have some clients who, when I am searching for a house, that are like, it must have at least 3.
Yep.
Some are like, I don't care.
Yep. So I leave it blank right now.
Filters come up with.
Yes. Yep.
You tend to start pretty broad and then narrow down a little bit.
Exact. Okay.
I think you're gonna get there in a second.
Yep. So and then how many bedrooms does that have?
A 6-bedroom.
Okay. So this is where you can put that information in right here. It does, but to his point, what he was saying is I try to leave it a little bit more open, and then I can start cherry picking the one-offs, right? The $100 million house, or whatever. If all your homes are like 3rd acres, and you have one that's 2 acres, right? Either it depends, either A, minus the amount for how much that's going to be, right? Minus the extra property, because to someone, if it's another 2 acres in Alpine, that's a big difference in price, right? So again, I could get to that. We'll just see what our search results give us, okay? So this is where you'd put in, if you want to search bedroom count, okay? Here, bedrooms, this is the bedroom column, this is the full bathroom column. So if you wanted to search and say, I want everything between a 4 and 6 bedroom, that's what I want to see. The number of bedrooms does not change the price of a home. You say yes, yes, yes?
You're going 2 to 3 or 1 to 2. Heck yeah.
Yes.
8 to 9. No.
Correct. Yep. A 6 or 7 bedroom home isn't going to make a big difference. right? If you have the same 4,000 square foot house and it's 7 bedrooms or 6, all that tells me is the rooms are going to be a little bit smaller, right? On the 7 bedroom, right? Because they have to fit more bedrooms in that same amount of space. And so same thing here. I leave this off. This is full bath. Does everybody know what the difference is of a half bath, a 3/4 bath, and a full bath? Yes? Yes? You know the difference? Yes?
Yeah.
You for sure? Like without a doubt, you're confident in that answer? Okay. 3/4, okay, 3/4. So half bath, and there's actually quarter bath, but I don't really talk about that. Usually half bath is where it matters, right? Half bath is a toilet and a sink. A 3/4 bath is a toilet, a sink, and a shower. Just a shower. Just a shower. If it has a tub as well and a shower, that's when it gets into full. Okay? So you got a tub, a shower, a sink, and a toilet.
It's not just standing toilet.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's not even a measurable, because not a lot of people even, like, you'll have a sink in the garage. Are we going to call that a bathroom? No. Right? So that's like a wash-up sink. Ooh. Yeah, that's a good question. Has anybody ever been in a house with more than one basement? How many is your most? 3? Just kept going? Yeah. How about you? Okay. Yep. So they'd have a basement and then a basketball court. Yep.
But I've been to a, vacation house in Bear Lake that did have 3 basements.
Yes. That's cool. Yes. I think it's a great idea. Was it on a hill, the house? Yes. That's usually where I see it. Great question. That can happen, right? A suspended slab. Let's say there's a garage above us and this is all underneath the garage. That's all considered one basement because it's all on the same level. Now, if you have to go down a flight of stairs to come down to here, then yes, that's where separate basements would apply. Say that again. So does he have a multi-level home then, is what it sounds like? No? Okay. So usually homes that have a half a flight of stairs usually are those multi-levels where they could have multiple basements. But typically as an appraiser is what they're gonna do, it'll be easier if I show it to you and draw it. Okay. So if this is ground level, okay, you're gonna walk in, boop, and you're gonna have one set of house here. You're gonna have another level here, and this is a terrible drawing, but it gives you the idea. Another one here, and another one here, okay? But they're all touching, right? So imagine they're all touching. I just drew them separately so you can get an idea. What an appraiser is gonna do could you count this and this as a basement? Yes? Who says no? Okay, good question.
Anything for that level is partially below grade is considered a basement. If it was like that, it would be called an English basement, with windows above grade, windows covered below.
Yep. So an appraiser, most of the time, is going to count these two as the same basement. So if this one's 500 square feet, and this one's 500 square feet, some appraisers could say basement 1, 500 square feet, basement 2, 500 square feet. That is possible. But most appraisers are going to loop these two together, because in this scenario, this many square feet, this one might have like a family room, a half bath maybe, and a laundry room. This one's going to have a bedroom and a bathroom and maybe some storage and like the HVAC, you know, where the furnace is and water heater and all that. And then same thing, they could group those into separate as well, but most of the time they'll try to keep those separate. Okay. That's so that's why they don't build them anymore, is just people don't love them, right? Same thing with split entries. You come in and you have tiny entry, right? And if you're, and the door's swinging in, so you're like having to do this situation, and it's just not ideal. Oh, it's hard. Yes, I lived in a duplex that had that in West Valley, and it was miserable. Great question. So typically they say if you go out and if I think it's like 5 feet and below. So if, in other words, if you come out and there's basement when you look outside, that's going to be considered basement. If it's ground level and above is gross living area is what they call it, is above grade. If any part of it is basement, you know, if you open the door, you come down the stairs, you look out, and you can see it's called a daylight basement. You can still see outside, but it's underground. That's going to still be basement. Yes. So this would be considered like a daylight basement. Where, correct. Yep. Because you're going down. Does it cost more money to build up or to build down? You say up? You say down? You say up? Okay. Everyone participate. Raise your hand if you say it's more expensive to build up. 1, hold on, be proud. 1, 2, 3. The rest of you think it's more expensive to build down? Okay, the answer is it's more expensive to build up. So talking to builders, if you go and you meet with a builder, they'll tell you, you can build 1,000 square feet, give or take, in the basement for the same cost as it would be to build like 500 square feet above. So people all the time are like, oh, I want to build a bonus room above the garage, and I want it to have a family room, a bedroom, and a bathroom, or 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. That's where the builders, and I've sat in these appointments, and builders are like, hey, just keep in mind that like, we can do that, because all of a sudden you're changing the trusses and everything that's in the ceiling to actually be able to hold more weight, because you're now having livable space up there. Yep. Especially like detached garages and things like that. Gotcha. I haven't heard of that. I've never had that, because most people are within reason. They're like, the city won't allow us build more than, you know, two stories, 3 stories, whatever it is. They usually have a limit, because when you go and have plans, you have to have it approved by the city. And that's where they'll get into saying, and I don't know what the codes are for each city, but each city will have height restrictions, because that way someone's not building a 10 by 10 box that's 10 stories high, right? It just looks weird. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Yep. Yes. Yep. Okay, do you have something on that?
Yeah. I've lived in many areas of the country and I've never seen this before, but I've seen two houses in American floor alone, basement homes.
Okay,
Fun to see CMAs too.
hey, that's a good question. I've done one basement CMA. Have you ever done one? Yeah, and that's where you count it as basement. Because it is, there's nothing above grade. There's nothing that's,
Why would somebody build that?
if I had to guess,
Get on the roof without a ladder.
yes, yeah. It's literally like the roof's like this high off the ground, right? Someone could climb up on top of it. They're really strange. I don't know the reason why they built them. If I had to guess, it was either A, because it was cooler, right? You're in the basement, it's cooler, didn't have a lot of air conditioning, that sort of thing. And so to be underground, to be a little cooler, that's the only thing I can think of, right? Because,
Tornadoes here, so it's not.
yeah, that's the thing. No, but we do have those like hexagon houses. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but we, yes. Yeah, but they're all, you know, each of the roof line has a different, yeah, geometric, yeah.
Talking with my brother about this extensively. It's a little weird. We were like, yeah, we'll totally live another gas there. Like we don't want no one to know we live there.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah,
We told the whole person.
yeah, be a little mole.
That's funny to do.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you'll learn this quickly. You'll have your style and how you like things done and what you think is attractive or not attractive. But until you know your client, do not say anything. There's been a number of times where I'm like, oh my gosh, it is not good or not appropriate or not this or that. And they're like, really? I actually really like it. And you're like, oh. Okay, I like it too then, you know. If you like it, I like it. Okay, so this is where I try to get in back to location and neighborhood. That's where this comes into play. So I then click on view map. And there's lots of ways to do this. Other agents have other ways to do this. So you'll find what works good for you. This isn't just the right or wrong way. This is how I do it.
Like a good number before we go to map view? Or is that like pretty high or pretty low?
In terms of square feet, is that what you're asking? Sorry, what was your question? Oh, yes. So this is looking all of Utah, right? So that's way too high. To be honest, I actually don't even pay attention to that number. So that's, in my opinion, non-factor right now. Okay, so I clicked on view map, and then I click on the radius tool. Okay, click on the radius tool. Come over here to set radius, location. And this is where I'm going to make the changes. An appraiser wants to find within 1 mile. If they can. If they can find it closer, even better. Okay. And I did a boo-boo, so give me a second. I'm going to add another tab. What I've done in the past, this is another thing I would suggest doing. Open up a second tab. Okay, so I still have both my tabs. I have my original search where we were searching the map. I open up another one. What I'm gonna do, clear the criteria. I wanna see, has this house been on the market before? Okay, I can check for you. It's not a big deal. I don't know why my search criteria is not clearing. What I was trying to do, while he's looking that up, what I was trying to do is see if it's been listed before. Because then what you can do is it helps narrow down your CMA, right? What you can do here on the map view, go ahead. Hit history right there. Yep. Okay, there you go. So it's active right now. Okay. So read me the 207 number in just a second. So he's giving me the MLS number. Okay. So back to the radius. I want 1 mile. You can put in the address of the property. So if you don't know if it's been listed, or if you just want to just blank slate it, that's where you can put in the address to help narrow it down. This is where I'm putting in the MLS number. Okay. 207-8606. Okay. And then this is the cool thing. You hit set criteria and it'll boom, zoom in, it'll pull all of your criteria in the mile radius and it'll show you how many match what we're looking for. Okay, so see the nice cool radius, the yellow? Let me see if I can get a bigger picture here. Maybe not. Okay, so what does green mean? Active. What does yellow mean? What does orange mean? Backup. And red means, so those are the 4 criteria we had. Active, green, under contract, yellow, backup, orange, solds are red. More solds than active, correct? Okay, and this is 6 months back. Okay, so now after I've got that dialed in, where'd my mouse go? So this is from today to 6 months back. I think my mouse may have died. Wait. Can anyone see the mouse?
Right in the middle.
Oh, it is in the middle. Let me turn it off and then on. I clicked it off and then it said mouse off. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I think it's dead.
Connected.
Oh, yeah, baby. All right, let's go. Okay. So then I hit view results. Okay, to your point, now I have 27. Do you guys like that number? Is that too high? Is it too low? Yep, so let me go back. So I just clicked on view results. I'll go back. So from the map, top left, nope, you're good. And then I click view results. Yep. Okay. MLS number, your pictures, status, backup, sold, active, sold. And there's the price point. So the bottom end, 464. The top end at the bottom is essentially 700. So are you really going to sit down with your client or your future client and say, okay, so your house is worth somewhere between 465 and 700? Yeah, I like that. But he's accurate. That's exactly what Zillow does. They're like, hey, it's somewhere between $1 million and $5 million. You're like, what? Not even close. But you're going to have clients that do that, just so you know. You're going to have clients that are like, well, my estimate is. Does anyone know that what non-disclosure state that we live in? Does anyone know what that means? What does that mean? Correct. Yep. Correct. So that's where you got to help clarify to people. Utah's a non-disclosure state, which means that anybody that's outside of the real estate industry will not know how much you sold your house for or how much you paid for your house. But they're not actively licensed realtors, as I understand it. I know that they're trying to be. From what I've heard at Family Reunion and other things that Keller Williams has, I've been told that they're trying to break into the realtor market because they're looking at data is money, and the more information they have, the more profitable it makes them, right? And so they're trying to find ways to get into the real estate segment where they're either a licensed appraiser, a licensed realtor, a broker, someone that's in the industry. Even lenders can't access this information. Okay. Zillow doesn't have sold data. Yes.
Part of what you feel like.
Yes. Yep.
You sell your house private party, you don't have to disclose that, but if you have a realtor involved, you agree as part of being part of the UAR and CAR, et cetera, our association, you will report what that transaction, dollar value, et cetera, took place. And that is then available within that ecosystem. So legally,
What was that?
you're agreeing to tell.
207. Yep. And the other thing too, I would advise your clients is when they buy a house, they're going to get a letter from the county that they're buying in. So they buy in Utah County, they're going to get a nice little letter within a month and a half from the county that says, hey, welcome to Utah County, welcome to the neighborhood. Love having you, we have a great place to live, blah, blah, blah. Do you mind disclosing and telling us how much you paid for your house? And my clients thought, some of them were like, it's not gonna happen. And they literally took a picture of it and sent it to me like 3 weeks later. They're like, you're right, it happened. I'm like, I told you it happens. Do you have to have them fill that out? No. It does look, yes, but just have them throw it away, okay? Because Utah is a non-disclosure state, that's where it's very beneficial. Okay, here's the house. They originally priced it at $544. They've now lowered it to $535. Okay, so $9,000 price reduction. DOM, days on market, 24 days. Okay, what did you say was the average day on market in Utah County or in Eagle Mountain? 53. So what do you guys think? At 24 days, and they've done one price reduction, are they a little bit overpriced, or do you feel like it's still fair? Do you feel like it's okay? Okay, good answer. So what I like to look at too is when they made that price reduction. You can look at history, and it'll show you right here. So they listed it on April 18th at 1:26 in the morning. Someone's working late. Changed some of the information about it. These are like comments that they changed. But on April 26th, so within a week of being on the market, they lowered it $9,000. Here's the old, where it says before and after. It shows you 544 is the first price, now down to 535. It also will show you in history, it'll show you every time this home has been bought and sold. Look at this. So you can click on the MLS number here. It'll show you back in 2015 when they bought it, someone bought it for $260. Isn't that wild? Now they're asking literally more than double that, and it's probably worth that.
On the history, real quick. So before it said, just on that top line, so.
Right here?
Before there was no showings.
Yep.
So then they listed it at 544 with no showings a week later, it was ready for the market, we decided to adjust the price to 535, and now it was open for showing.
It could be the case. What happens, I don't know why agents do that. This was really big during COVID, if you remember, where they're like, no showings until the open house. And you're like, okay, if COVID is a thing where we're trying to stay away from people, why are you shoving everybody into a 2-hour window? I don't understand this. And so when agents still do that, it probably means, from my experience, is that the house isn't ready quite yet. They've had the pictures, it's up and it's running, but we're not ready to show it yet. There's a few last minute things. We got to find somewhere for the dogs. We got to find, our kids' stuff, whatever it might be. That's where that's got to go.
That would tell me that they said, okay, we're gonna do these things at a certain time, and then when okay, we didn't do something or it didn't turn out as well as we did, so we're gonna get
Yep. Yep. And this is probably where he came back and said, I didn't know if it was a he or she listing it. A she. Janelle. I don't know if she, I don't know if she, same thing, came to her clients and said, hey, I think it's between 520 to 550. And they're like, price it at 544. And that's why I like to come with my clients with a range and just say, hey, look, top end, it's, 580. Bottom end, it's whatever. And that's where having that flexibility is good, because if you come to your client and you're like, hey, I know for a fact it's worth 544. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, it's not selling at 544. It's been on the market now for just over 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, and we haven't sold. So it makes you look less credible. Does that make sense? So that's why I try to do a range where you're like, anything can change, anything can happen, but this is where I feel like your home price is worth, okay? So back to the report. Okay, so from here, now we have 27. I like, if I can, to get closer to like 15, if I can. 27, fine. But you can see there's a big range in the square footage, right? That's a big range. Yes.
Then you actually look at it and it's only 4 bedrooms. So there's a discrepancy between the grid and what's actually there.
They're totaling the bedrooms here. So what they're saying is in the basement, basement 1 has 2 bedrooms. These are bedrooms. This is level 1, basement 1. So there's 2 bedrooms in the basement. Probably a master on the main or maybe a guest bedroom. And then on the second level has 4 bedrooms up there. Yes, probably. Could be an office. Yep. Correct. Yep. As long as it's got a bedroom or a closet. What are the requirements for it to have counted as a bedroom? Does it have to have a window? Egress is the term, so it doesn't have to have a window. It just has to have a second way to get out. Okay. A lot of people think it has to have a window, but from an appraiser standpoint, it just has to have if that door's on fire, how can I get out?
Someone the other day had they listed bedrooms in the basement, didn't have egress, second door egress.
Yep.
What's that really matter? Like, number of bedrooms clearly, so people searching, hey, we gotta have 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Versus this bedroom that's listed, but really isn't technically a bedroom, like, I guess.
So, yeah, to your point you made a few points ago, if it's a 3-bedroom and you're like, I have to have 3 bedrooms, and you show up and there's only 2, you're gonna be like, this will not work. I have to have that. But then if back to your other point, is that if it's a 7-bedroom house, is what they claim, and you get there, you're like, this is just an office. Because that one of the houses I'm selling now, outside the master, has a 1 door to go in, and it's probably, the room is probably like that size. Okay? Yeah. And has no other way to go in or out. So no window, no other door, nothing else, no hatch, nothing like that. No ladder to go down, no slide, nothing cool. Just has carpet, and it's finished, it's nice. But are you gonna count that as a bedroom? No, because you can't put your clothes anywhere, right? Which is fine, you can get a wardrobe, whatever, but there's no way to get out. And so to answer your question, I don't know what the right answer is. That's where it's like, just try to be exact as you can when you're putting your homes on the market and making sure that they're actually accurate. What I would do is I would put, like, to your point, I'd put 6 bedrooms, and then down in the comment section, I would add something in the line of basement has potential for 7th bedroom. You know, what it's missing, doesn't have an egress, doesn't have, you know, whatever, doesn't have a closet. Just tell people, just disclose it, right? Cam, do you have anything you'd add to that too? No? And you could, yeah. Yep, you can add that. Yes, yep. Good question. Yeah. Does anyone have an idea what she's asking, like a way to answer it? Okay, average.
Previous spot, their bottom dollar, it won't go lower than
Okay. Yeah. Yep. And it gets stigmatized, right? That's the crappy thing, is that people, if the house is immaculate. So back to my vineyard listing I was telling you about, 6,000 square feet. I told my client 1.25 to 1.4, somewhere in that $150,000 range, which is a lot, but it can vary a lot in that price range, right? That's a big gap. And what happened is, like 2 or 3 days before we go to list it, boom, another one pops up on the market. It's smaller than his. It was 5,500 square feet versus 6,000. 3rd acre, so check, that box is the same. However, his is on a golf course backed up to Sleepy Ridge. Mine was not. Mine's on a corner lot. His is not. So they're a little bit different. Mine is a block away from a park, actually like half a block away from a park. but it's also by an elementary school. Some people may not like an elementary school as your side neighbor, so to speak, right? And so that's where it's hard. And so what happened is that house popped up for 1.5. It was 3 years newer than ours. Ours was built in 2016. This one on the golf course was built in 2019. Ours, back to the condition and quality, what I usually tell clients is, look, if you have a Honda Civic, nothing against Civics, I think they're great cars, and a Porsche 911, they're both, you can get them in coupe, so 2 doors. They're both the same size. Are they the same price? Why not? Okay, maybe because one's got the engine's more expensive, more money put into it, more ingenuity, right? Probably a lot of it's more hand built type of thing versus kicking it out through a factory. And so that's what I usually try to tell people. Just because you have a Honda Civic and a Porsche 911 and they're the same size inside, they're built in the same year, doesn't mean that they're going to be the same price. And so that's where I try to help people understand, like, they're just different, right? So that's where you kind of get into the quality, because ours did not have the best quality. Our kitchen, granite and stainless, check, big thing that people like. Our bathrooms are not nice. We got cultured marble. Does anyone know what that is? Okay, it's a solid surface, which is good, but it's not as nice as granite or quartz. Our floor, people like tile in the bathrooms, right? Traditionally, or brick or something cool, especially at this price range. Ours had, they're like vinyl squares. They were designed to look like a slate. So some of them kind of got a little bit of orange in it, and some got blue and kind of a darker color. And it just, you know, the bathroom tub in the guest bathrooms, or the other bathrooms, not the master, is those inserts, those fiberglass inserts, right? That's the type of house, you know, if fiberglass inserts, in my opinion, are like an Edge Home or an Arrive or something that's like 500,000 to 700,000. Whoop, that's where you'd find a bath insert. Does that make sense? You know what inserts are? Does that make sense? It's all one. There's no grout lines. It's just one piece. Yes.
Now, we're back to something else, the emotional part of it, I think the house. How do you have that this conversation with them?
About like a dog, is that what you said? Oh yeah, the house is done. And that's where just having the most confidence that you can bear comes into play, I've found. Because if you go and you deliver the news all timid and you're like, this is what I found about your house, people are gonna be like, well, you don't have much confidence talking about my house, versus if you just give it to them straight. That's where it kind of, for me, that was not my style. I'm more like, you know, let me paint the picture really good and try to get you the information the best you can, which is important. But just I've learned it's just like, be tactful, be honest, be tactful, come with purpose. Don't be offensive. You don't want to be like, oh, it's dated and this and this and this. You don't want to hurt their, because this is their house. This is their pride and joy, most people. And so if you go and start offending people, then you're going to start having problems. Yep.
And how many days, I guess, past the average?
Sure. So typically the rule of thumb is if you have 10 showings and no offers, do you remember the percent that you're over? I can't remember the percent, but it means you're close. Yeah, you're close. It's like within 1%, something like that. Like if you're pricing a house, you know, and it's like, okay, we've gotten 10 showings in the last 2 weeks, but no offers. You've obviously got enough people to show up, so at least you're close. And so that I don't know if there's a correct. It's just a fill and see, because a condo and the amount of people seeing a condo is going to be way different than luxury, right? Luxury, you're going to get a showing like every 2 or 3 weeks. Depends on the price, right?
It's a good thing, but I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where it just yeah. And if you go like been 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you haven't had any showings, then now it's time to start taking price reductions. Same thing, condo, if it's worth 350,000, you're not going to do a $50,000 price reduction as your first price reduction. You don't do that, right? You might do like a 5,000 or a 7 or a 10, something minor, versus for $1.5 million house, you don't want to do a $5,000 price reduction because that's not anything. That's not enough to get anybody to jump. Versus if you come in and be aggressive with it. Okay. Did you have a comment you wanted to? No. Okay. Sorry. I know I'm way over, guys. I'm so sorry. Are we good to keep going? A couple more minutes? Okay. Okay. So from here, this is where we've got all the information, right? How many square feet? Now what I'll do, I don't really care about bedroom count, right? That doesn't matter to me. What does matter to me at this point is the square feet. That's going to be most applicable, and bathrooms are going to be applicable, and location, right? Those are, at this point, those are the most important. So I'm going to go back into refined search. Okay, and I'm going to try to trim it up a little bit more. Okay, maybe right here I go from 180 to let's go 120 days, and let's see. So we're at 27. Top left, it shows us 27. Okay, let's see what we're down to 23. So only took 4 off. Okay, that's fine. So that's in 4 months. The closer you can get it in terms of date, square footage, bedroom, bathroom, the closer you can get it, the better. I haven't yet. Nope. It depends. Yeah, if you can get to 5 or 6 is good. I try to get closer to like 10 and then really see which ones are a little bit different and I can, whittle out. Okay, same thing. Let's trim up square footage. So I'm gonna go 200 in each direction. So 2,800, and you can toy with this. There's no right or wrong. So now we're down to 13. So now we're getting closer. Okay. Someone said something about yard size. You can trim that up. I always forget where the yard size is. Did I pass it? There we are. But there's a way to do a range. Yes, thank you. I was like, I'm used to seeing a box. I just can't see it. Okay, so back to our subject property. 0.13, thank you. So now I can do like 0.09, 0.18. I don't know if that's going to change much. So that took us down 2 more. I probably would leave them off for now. Just play with me for a second. Okay, we're going to go up a couple years. Let's go up 3 years. Let's see if we can do that. And down 3. Boom. Okay. So I just see what I did there. I just tightened up our criteria. You'll find sometimes when you're going through this and you've left it pretty wide open that you'll have like 2 or 3 and you're like, crap, that's not enough, right? I can't go to my client with 2 comparables. And so you just open it up. Okay. Change the year built. I would go like, if you can't find anything in 10 and 10, go 15 and 15. Or 20 and 20, okay? Try to hinge it down a little bit. Same thing with square foot. You can't find it, make it bigger, okay? 10 results. So I'm gonna view the map. Okay, the middle is exactly where our property is. Okay, that's what this is. So we have one sold at 574, another one down here at 489. 590, 549, 514, and 539. Which one is the outlier? Okay, good. So I'd get rid of the 489. Okay, anybody else have any that you can see? Good question. And it depends on the neighborhood. That's where learning and knowing the areas is good, because there is a difference. Like I grew up in Sandy, okay? There's a big difference if, in the neighborhoods, depending on where the roads are. For instance, back to the Highland Alpine situation, right? If you live on the north side of, I can't remember what the road is called, the Timpanogos Highway. If you live on the north side, or you live south side. People, you know, there usually are boundaries and borders that separate prices of neighborhoods. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah. In Sandy, it was the same thing. If you lived on the east side of the freeway, that's going to be a different price point than you live on the west side of the freeway. Okay. Same city, same area, same age, same square footage, same size, same everything. And that's your outliers. Okay. So from here, you can go back to view results. Okay. We said the 489 is probably the outlier, right? Because look, you got these two, I'd probably get rid of. Yes, they're both sold. Ours has 3,100 square feet. Okay, so these are really close, similar in size. Okay, but what I would look at is the meat and potatoes of this thing. Frosting are these two, in my opinion. Same thing here. These probably three are probably frosting. You know what I mean by frosting? Like cake and frosting. Okay, the bulk of these 535, 539, 539, 549, that kind of seems to be the meat and the potatoes of this thing. And then these are the frosting. Those are the outliers. Those are your $100 million ones. Okay. So I would not include those. So from here, you click this box and you deselect the ones that you don't want. You can keep them in if you'd like, right? Let me keep them in and I'll show you what it does real quick. And then, so I clicked and I highlighted all of them. Then right here, you click on CMA report. Okay. Yep. So on the report, we've got 4 active, 6 sold. I like to have under contracts there if I can, but none of them match the criteria when we shrunk it down, which is fine. But with those high and low outliers, this is what this is saying. Actives, 572. Solds, 543. The middle is 554. That's with those outliers, okay? So what this tells you, people price the home at 572 is the average, but a lot of time they sell it for around that. That kind of tells you that we're getting it less than asking price. Does that make sense? That's what that's telling you. So to get rid of these guys, let's see if I can go back. Oh, it's not the right button. Sorry. I know there was a way to edit it, but so I'm going to go in and uncheck these two. Definitely the 625 and the 600. You can leave the 589. Again, it's 2,900 square feet, 4 bed, 4 bath. Been on the market for 11 days. You could leave it on there. Okay, same thing. So I've got the ones I want to compare. CMA report. So from here, view reports, CMA report. Okay. Here you can add the address and information. There should be populate subject data. Read me that number again. 207 8606. Okay, watch my pricing change. It should change on the left here. Okay, so what I did is I went to the top and I just hit populate subject data. And then I uploaded the MLS number, and that's how it put it in for me. This one's a little different because it is actively for sale, right? But the nice thing is what you can do is if it's, let's say it's one that you're going to price, you can still put in the MLS number from when it sold 10 years ago. All you're looking at is the statistics. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet, how big's the lot, how many garage, how old's the house. Yeah, so let's say it's bought new 10 years ago and they're selling it for the first time, bought it from the builder. You can click on that, it said like NA or whatever it said right there. You can click on it and auto-populate and type in the address. And you just have to manually type things in, okay? Okay, this is where you, being as good as you can, Does anybody know how much it costs about to put in a new bathroom? How much a builder will charge? That's a trick question because it depends. A condo, well, it's not a condo, a bedroom, a small single family, first time home, you can probably put in a bathroom if you hire it out for probably 7 to 10 grand. Okay. If you're putting in a $1.5 million home and you're putting in another bathroom, that's going to be a lot different, right? You're probably gonna have better tile. You're going to have better countertops. You're going to have nicer fixtures, light fixtures, right? All that's going to be upgraded. And so it just depends. But in this price point, I just put in the number of 10,000, okay? As you go in and start adding in these items, that's where this is going to change a little bit, okay? What was your question? Sorry. So I just scrolled down. Yep. Are you on the same page? No? Okay. So this is where you'll go in and you'll put in the differences. Bedrooms and bathrooms, that's not really a huge. Again, if it has 6 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 7s, that's not going to change the price too much. But the bathrooms absolutely will. So some of them have 3/4 baths. Like this one has 2 3/4 bathrooms. And so they're going to get credit for that. Okay. So you're going to go in and you put in, let's say, $7,500 for a 3/4 bath. Half bath, let's just say 5,000. Okay. Yes, this is experience. Yep. And if you need to know, call an appraiser. There's nothing wrong with calling an appraiser and saying, hey, and you'll start learning this, right? That's a very good question. How do you learn this information? You just start learning it. And then you just kind of remember. But right now, so far, actives 564, solds 554, right? So we're still getting closer. Okay, we'll get to square footage in a second. I know we're a little bit over. Okay, garage count. How much it costs to put in a garage, a 1-car garage? Let's say you're going from a 2-car to a 3-car. You're sitting down with Edge Homes, Arrive, whoever. You want to add a 3rd car. How much do you think an additional 1 garage per car garage is going to cost? Okay. We'll go with, we'll split the difference between 10 and 15 and we'll do 12. Okay, so $12,000. So when I added, this one, ours has 2-car garage. This one has 3. Why would it do a negative adjustment? Just so you guys can understand what a CMA is. Exactly. You're trying to compare. This is what was hard for me when I first got into appraising is how do I understand this? If it is better than yours or more than what yours has, you minus it. You want to bring it as close to yours as possible. Does that make sense? If it had, we'll have to scroll through here and see if any of them have a 1-car garage. If it had a 1-car garage, you would see a plus adjustment here. Does that make sense? Because yours has a 2, this one has a 1. So in order to make this 1-car like yours, you need to add value for that garage. Does that make sense? Same thing with bathrooms. If the one has more bathrooms, yours only has 2, the other one has 3, it's going to be minus. It's a negative adjustment, which is weird because it's better. So how is it negative? So that's where for me, it was hard for me to switch my brain around. Year built, same thing. If a home is 5 years old versus 35 years old, is there going to be a difference there? Probably. It's not very much, right? But we'll just say $2,000 a year. Okay. And that one's not super important, but it'll change the numbers a little bit. Do you guys see that? What happened? Put in 2,000 and it lowered it. What are we asking for this house? 535. So we're getting close. They started at 544 and now we're at 545. So we're getting close, right? Carport, same thing. I doubt any of these have carports. Not a lot of homes in Eagle Mountain have carports. Yeah. Say that again. Yes, acreage. Yep, good point. Look at this guy. Okay. And I don't know exactly what that's gonna be, but we'll just throw out a number. Cam, what do you usually run for acreage? Do you put anything in for that, or do you normally leave that one blank? Do you? Yeah. And that's okay. That's fine. You can come, again, I'm getting very precise, right? I'm giving you the appraiser standpoint. Some do what I did originally and said, hey, you're between 520 and 550. Boom. Great. And then if your client says, well, what makes the difference of the 550? Then you can go in and start looking. You can start looking at the photos, right? And say, okay, look at this house. The reason why this one sold for 550, this one has like nice board and battened. This one has the fixtures are nicer, right? It's got gold, polished gold, and it's just more custom, right? This one's got granite versus yours has Formica, that sort of thing.
That makes a factor, right, for the buyer and the seller.
Yep.
Definitely have to look at that.
Yep. Yes. Yep. So that's where it would probably be, in my opinion, if it's worth somewhere between 520 and 550, that's where I'd price it towards the top. We just spent 10 grand on a new roof 2 years ago. We put in a new water heater, that was $1,000. We put in a new HVAC system, that was $12,000. Whatever it is, does that make sense what I'm saying? Add that to what you're wanting to do here. And you can do that too. Yeah. Yep. But a lot of times, some home warranty companies, they'll be like, you were told that the roof leaks on your inspection, and we're not going to cover it. And so that's where it might get a little dicey to make sure you're working with the right home warranty companies. Because, that's them losing business, or not losing business, but losing money is home warranty companies having to pay out, right? And so luckily, a lot of the preferred vendors here are very good about that and holding up their end of the deal. Okay, basement square footage. This is where you'll go and put in the size of the square footage and the adjustments there. Same thing, first, second, third level. This is where this might change a little bit. But when you start going in like basement square footage, last time I heard in this price range, you're probably like 25 to 30 bucks a foot. So we'll just start with 30. That's finished square foot. So this one's square footage. So that's why there wasn't a huge adjustment. That's $30 a foot, but they're only saying that 100% of the basement's finished, right? This one's saying 90% of the basement, 100% finished. That's what that means. Not a huge difference. Again, level 1 square footage, you're going to be more like 50 or 60 or more. Okay, we'll do another 50. Okay, now look at our price. Pretty dang close, right? And then same thing, you can do a smaller number here. Of what number, sorry? On the left? I wouldn't worry about trying to get it within a range in terms of I have to get a battle between, back to our pricing, right? This tells me people are actively putting it up around 548 and they're selling it for around 547. So they're doing little price reductions most of the time in this price range. So to answer your question, if I'm trying to get a range, it depends on the price of the house. If the house is in this price range, I would try to get within if you can get a $20,000 or $30,000 gap range, then that's adequate. Again, a condo, you're going to be even tighter because the less expensive it is, the tighter you can fit that in, right? Because there's not a ton of immaculate condos in West Lehigh that are totally decked out. Most of them are very similar. That makes sense. But if you go higher price range, then that's where you start getting such wide ranges of quality of finishes and niceness and everything else. Correct. Yep. And then back to the garage size. We talked about garages earlier. That's where you're going to put in that. amount, yard, same thing. You can put in a yard, see this 0.36 here? That's obviously gonna be the outlier. So you can go in and add value for that one, okay? What the top is, because I know we're out of time. This guy right here sold. They put it up for, looks like they got the asking price. They put it up for $549.9. They got $549.9. 3 days, it was on the market. They paid $5,000 towards closing costs, closed last month, okay? But look at this, so $549 and compared to ours, $530. What does that mean? If it went for $550, essentially, $549, if it sold for $549, but after comparing to ours, it shows $530. What does that mean? And take a stab. The better quality, okay? Okay. I would look at that and say, then that's one example of closer to the price range that you're going to get for this house. That somebody got this house built in 2014, so it's new, has a 2-car garage. The acreage, 0.13, 0.11 are very similar. The total square footage, 3,100 versus 3,200. So it's within 100 square feet. That's a 10 by 10 square. Not a huge difference, right? Very similar. Basement square footage, finished 100%. They're within, was that 3 square feet in the basement? The basements are identical pretty much. Square foot level 1, square foot level 2. Okay, that's where those are a little bit different. This one has 1/2 bath. Same like ours. Ours has 1/2 bath, no 3/4, and three full baths. That's why there's no adjustments here. But that tells me our subject property, they're asking 540, or sorry, they started at 544. They sold it for 535. That tells me that it's a little bit, they're probably gonna go lower, is what that tells me. It's probably gonna be another reduction of another 5 or 10 grand.
So you're saying that number there on that other house is closer to what the subject house you would think is.
Yeah. Yes, yep. And that's just one example. I haven't looked at all of them fully, but this is how you can look at them, right? Is just compare them side by side, move this little bar over and get them really close side by side and try to compare apples to apples. And that's how you, I mean, again, we're getting really thick in the weeds here, okay? This, in other words, when we're breaking down, most agents won't do this. When you're breaking down square footage and the cost, they used to auto-populate this for you, which was nice. Do you remember those? 2 or 3 days ago, or days, 2 or 3 years ago, when you say, was it more than that? 4 or 5? Anyway, the MLS used to auto-populate, you know, averages for you. And that was nice. Yes, yeah, they probably got rid of that. Yep. And then what's nice to finish it up, so let's say you've got all your comparables and you love it and you're ready to send it to your client or to print it off. You're going to click on Create CMA Packet. And you can also save it back before and here. If you're like, I'm not ready to send it, I got to go run an errand and come back, go to lunch, you can save your CMA. And it'll save up in here. So you can come back to it. So if you're like, I'm stumped, I can't figure it out, I got to ask a question, save it, come back. Don't redo all that work for nothing. Okay. So from here, this is what the cover page will look like. Property comparative market analysis prepared for. That's where you can go in and type it in if you'd like. Anderson Family Trust. Okay. I don't know who it's for, but property address, prepared by, the date. So that's the cover page. That's what this is right here, these boxes on the left. And you can click on them to see what details you want to include in your report. So I want my cover sheet. So click that. This is the media, the medium, I think is what they call it. Yeah, medium comp details. So this just gives you a little snippet of the information about the house. So your clients can look at it. The address, the price, A little blurb about the house, how many bed, how many bath, the size, the age. Okay, that's medium. This is full, so the page you're used to looking at, where it breaks it all down fully. And it depends on your client. Some clients want, just give me the itty bitty. Great, that's where you do the medium. Gives them a picture of the house, okay? If they want to know all of it, that's where you do this. Okay, so I'm gonna do the full client history report. That shows them, here's the listing history of the house. When they put it up, price changes, all of that. And they can see the dates and the times, or not times, but the dates and when they made the price adjustments. So this essentially just means on this day, May 7th, they changed the list price from $549 and they lowered it to $539. So that people can see what's normal. Are they raising lower? You know, how often do we need to do price reductions? These people did it, seems like every couple weeks, okay? You can choose to do that or not, up to you. I'm gonna include it. Same thing, comp photos. That's where you can see the comparables. So you can actually see the interior quality compared to ours. How does our quality compare? How does it look, right? So someone can pull this up and look at it and say, okay, it's kind of a 3/4 bath, a little interesting here, right? But it shows all of the comparable photos, right? These look like they're taken on a cell phone. It's terrible. But you can, and it'll show all of them. So if your client's like, hey, I want to see all of the details of everything, then you can, oh my goodness. Do not do that. Okay, don't put pets. What'd you say? Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. Or cats.
Yeah, they're like, oh my goodness.
Yes, don't do this, okay? Yep. And if there's pictures you don't want, you can unclick them, okay? So if you don't want doggy pictures, but it'll put it in a nice report, and I'll show you. So, but that's the thing, you can click on this on what you want, right? So I want the photos, comparison report. This is where kind of a snippet of what we're looking at, so they can see the adjustments as to what's what. Again, so we're going deep into the details here. Some clients will not care about this. They're like, just give me the details. How much is it worth? What's my range? Great. Let's come up with a price and let's sell it. Some clients are that way. Others are like, no, give me the deets. And that's where you're gonna include that. Summary analysis, same thing. Shows you the price point, gives them a little bit of details. It looks really old school. Looks like it was done on MS-DOS, if you ask me. But it gives you an idea right here. Active listings, the lowest one's 539, the highest is 589, the average is 564. And again, that gives you the price per square foot. That back to, this one is the, the summary analysis. And it shows you the active properties, their address, things like that. So you can include that. The nice thing is it has a map report. So you can click that, same thing. So they can get a bird's eye view. Where's our house location? Yes, sir. So now it's saying you have a crap ton of photos. You really want to print it. Some clients want it printed, some don't. So what I'll do is depends on the client. I will take this and I'll put it in a nice binder, or just paper clipped, something nice, right? They have them upstairs if you'd like. It has nice Keller Williams on it, or you can just have it in paper form. But when I go to my listing presentations, this is what I'll bring with me. This is one of the things that I'll say, and I'll just give them the very high level. I'll just say, based on what I found, it's worth somewhere between 520 and 550. And then I, essentially go from there. And then if they want to get in the nitty gritty details of all of it, then they can. But it's 73 pages, so it's a lot. But bulk of that's the pictures. But then people can actually go through and see all the information about that. So that's what I would do. And again, if you don't want to do photos, take that out and if they want to see that, then great. But make it nice, right? Make it presentable where someone can actually say, oh yeah, I can see how this one is comparable to my house. My house has new carpet. Mine has new paint. We don't have pets or kids that live in it. So, you know, people see a dog in it, they're gonna like, no, that's not in. I don't want to compare it. And so make it nice, make it presentable. And then just have a conversation with them and say, based on the data and what the market's showing, your home's worth between 530 to 550 or whatever that range is that you found. Does that answer your question, Cam?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yes. And you can. Yes, you can email this too. So if your client's like, I don't want this printed, just freaking send me, save a bunch of trees. Just hit email PDF. And then same thing, it'll pull up, you know, who do you want to send it to, and off it goes. Yes. Good question. Let me see if I can go back. Nope, you're good. And I'm sorry, guys. I know we're like an hour over, so I'm sorry. Oh, were they? Okay. So that's where I'd come in. So this is actually a super tight gap. That's very tight. Most of my pricing is like I said, in this price point, you're like a $20,000 spread, but I'm super close on this. So to answer your question, I'd go back to Realville. Let me get back there. I'm gonna go through every one of those. I would come back to this page to answer your question. And I would say, bottom end showing us 535. The top end, and you can say this, like there are some, I've seen one, that's similar size, sold for 575. You can tell them about these. It's not a no-no, but that's where your job is to educate them and tell them the differences as to why. That one's in a little bit better of a neighborhood. Yours is on a busier street, you know, whatever it is, educate them. They're looking at you for guidance and your professionalism. And that's your job, is to come in and say, you being on a 2-lane road is a big deal. A lot of people don't like that. You'll find someone that does, but you can probably, that a mom with young kids is not gonna like that, right? If it's a single guy and he doesn't have any kids and he just has a dog, it'll be great for him, right? Quick access in and out. But that's where just educating your client and just giving it to them straight, okay? Any questions? I know that was really high level, and then we got really microscopic on a lot of it, but that's where, to keep it very basic and very simple for you guys in the future, that's where I would say price it with this in mind and give clients. That's probably what Cam does, I'm guessing, is go somewhere in that. If he says he doesn't go crazy in the details, then he'll probably just pull up the averages like this and to say, okay, based on what I'm seeing, it's somewhere between here and here. If your client's is super dirty, super beat up, super clean, super nice, higher quality, then I would go towards the top end and I'd look at the pictures of those, see, okay, all right, we got a different here. It's not an average house anymore. You've spent $50,000 with all this nice woodwork and changing out faucets and light fixtures and all this. You guys have spent a ton of money. Your house is probably going to be worth more. And so then that's when you start looking at the higher price homes. So any questions? I know it's a lot to go over and drinking by a fire hose, but okay.
Homework, go do this on someone's house that you know, and then send it to them and say, hey, I was looking at comps in your area and I figured I'd give you a price for your home.
Yep.
It's worth between them.
Yep.
We're randomly, if you have questions, look around this room, don't look at me and Tanen though. Find someone in this room to help you, because you are all now experts.
But the more you do this, the faster it'll get, okay? I went very high level, took a long time, but you'll start be able to price houses pretty quick. Now, What gets weird is if it's like 3 acres in Draper and the house is 20 years old and it has, you know, a 12-car garage, has a pool. Does that make sense? See what I'm saying? You get these weird outliers like that, and now they will happen and they will come. And that's where you just start trying to hone that in. Try to, pool, you can adjust for that. Garages, you can adjust for that. Yard size, you can adjust for that, but there's different pricing for that sort of thing. And so, but the bulk of what you'll do, 99% of what you'll do is this easier stuff. So anyway, okay, thanks guys, appreciate it.